I came back from my business trip a day early. When I walked into the house, I saw my best friend and my husband in the living room. I didn't say a word. I grabbed my suitcase and left. But then something happened that no one expected. This story is entirely fictional and has no connection to real events. Before we start, just a quick reminder. If you like this video and subscribe to my channel, you'll be the first to know when new stories come out. Let's get started. I arrived in Berlin a full day earlier than planned, the wheels of the train screeching to a halt like a secret I wasn't ready to tell. My suitcase bumped along the platform, my scarf tight against the wind, and all I could think about was how Marcus would smile when he saw me. We'd only been married 3 years, but surprises were our thing. Small, simple gestures. A plate of warm lentil soup waiting after a long shift. A note tucked in my Quran stand. Proud of you, Hannah. We had built a life out of quiet acts of care. I let myself into our apartment with a soft click. The hallway lights were off, the winter sun a pale ribbon across the parquet. I slipped off my boots to keep the entry rug clean. Routine, instinct. My heart beat fast in that funny, excited way, and I was already picturing his face when... Voices. Not the TV, not a podcast. Human voices, low and close, coming from the living room. I recognized one instantly. Marcus. The other, lighter, with a lilt like a bell. Clara, my best friend. I didn't step forward. I didn't speak. I didn't even breathe for a second. I just stood there, fingers pinched white around my suitcase handle, as a tiny grain of reality broke off and slid somewhere I couldn't reach. I took one silent step, then another, my socks whispering against the floor. From the threshold, I saw them. Not tangled, not dramatic, nothing that would make a sensational headline, but close. Too close. The kind of closeness that had no honest explanation. Clara was leaning toward Marcus, his hand hovering near hers, their voices barely above a whisper. I said nothing. I didn't ask questions or demand explanations that would only echo in my chest. I picked up my suitcase, turned around, and left. Down the stairs. Out the building. The cold air met me like a stern teacher. I walked to the corner, to the little park with the iron bench where the pigeons congregate like old men arguing over who remembers the city best. I sat. I put my hand against my chest and whispered, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakil. Allah is sufficient for me, and He is the best disposer of affairs. My phone buzzed. A calendar reminder, return tomorrow. Call Marcus from the train. The mundane felt obscene, like wearing ballet shoes to a fire. I swiped it away and opened my banking app. Practical steps. Not revenge, protection. I froze the joint card for a day, set a spending alert on my personal account, and forwarded a copy of our rent contract to my email. My hands were steady. I don't know how. I called no one. Not my mother in Bremen, who would have told me to come home. Not my cousin Greta, who would have arrived with soup and bad jokes. Not even Clara, whose name pulsed at the top of my messages like a dare. I watched my breath curl into the cold, and I prayed without words. Just the shape of a plea, the surrender of a heart. When I finally stood up again, the sky had turned the color of brushed steel. I walked to the mosque near the canal, a small, bright place tucked between a bakery and a shoe cobbler. The entrance smelled of soap and winter coats. I removed my scarf, smoothed it, and put it back on, as if order on the outside could rebuild order inside. Imam Daniel, yes, Daniel, with a gentle smile and a careful way of listening, was finishing a conversation with an elderly man. He looked up, saw me, and nodded me toward his small office, where a potted ficus and a stack of well-thumbed books guarded the corner. I came back early, I said, when the door clicked shut. I walked in on Marcus and Clara, Not nothing I can accuse in a courtroom, but enough to break something. My voice was calm. In that moment, I hated my calm. He didn't rush. Do you want tea? I shook my head. Do you want to speak? He said. Or sit and not speak for a while? I want to do what is right, I said. I don't want to backbite. I don't want to humiliate anyone. I also don't want to be naive. That's a good place to start, he said. Protect yourself. Don't broadcast. And ask Allah for clarity. Would you like to make 2 rakahs? I did. In the small side prayer room, I stood, bowed, and prostrated, my forehead against the soft carpet that smelled faintly of detergent and dust. My mind would not quiet, but my heart found a groove. You see me. You know. Guide me. When I finished, I sat on the rug a moment longer and let tears come. Discreet, simple tears that didn't wreck anything, just made space. Back in the office, the Imam spoke softly. In our deen, we do not assume the worst without clear proof, and we do not dismiss harm out of fear of conflict. You can ask questions, set boundaries, seek counsel. If there's betrayal, there are lawful paths, accountability, repentance, and, if needed, separation with dignity. If there's misunderstanding, there is also a way back. Either way, you are not alone. Boundaries, I repeated, the word landing like a plank over icy water. I can do that. When I left, evening had rolled in properly, neon trembling on the canal. I didn't go home. Not yet. I booked a modest room at a women's guest house near Alexanderplatz. Quiet, clean, with a kettle and a small desk where the chair didn't wobble. I texted Marcus. I came back a day early. I'm safe. I'll message you in the morning about when to talk in person. He replied almost instantly. Hannah, where are you? Are you okay? Please, let me explain. I put the phone face down. I didn't owe the night an explanation. Sleep was strange. When it came, it was thin and breakable, like spun sugar. I woke before Fajr, made wudu, and prayed. In the silence after, I wrote a list. 1. Speak to Marcus in a public, quiet place. 2. Ask direct questions. 3. Do not accuse beyond what I saw. 4. Keep dignity. 5. Call Greta if I need a second set of ears. 6. If truth is heavy, carry it with Allah, one step at a time. At 7, my phone buzzed again, but not from Marcus. An unknown number, a Berlin area code. I hesitated. Then I answered, Is this Hannah Weiss? A woman's voice, crisp, controlled. Yes. You don't know me, she said, but you need to know something about Clara, about last night, and about a message she's planning to send you this morning. I didn't speak. I could feel the tiny kettle behind me finishing its boil. Please, the voice said, meet me at Cafe Linden at 9. Sit by the window. Order mint tea. I'll explain everything. And bring your phone charger. Who is this? I asked. A pause. Someone who believes you deserve the whole truth. The line went dead. I stood there, the world rearranging itself again. The mint tea, the charger, the window seat. Details that made the call feel real and staged at the same time. I pressed my palms together and whispered, Ya Allah, if this meeting is good for my deen and my life, open it. If it is harm, block it from me. 9 o'clock wasn't far. But between me and that cafe stood a single, enormous question no one in my world expected me to ask. What if what I saw wasn't what I thought? Cafe Linden sat on the corner of a cobblestone street where the tram hissed by like an impatient sigh. I arrived 10 minutes early, clutching my coat tight and scanning every passerby. The morning smelled of roasted beans and wet stone. Inside, the cafe was half full. Students bent over laptops, 2 older women whispering over strudel, a tired barista stacking mugs. I chose the table by the window, exactly as instructed, and ordered mint tea. My hands cupped the glass, warmth seeping into my skin, while my eyes tracked the door. At 9 sharp, she arrived. A tall woman, blonde hair tucked under a beret, grey scarf wrapped twice around her neck. She carried herself with a kind of deliberate calm, but her eyes darted, searching until they landed on me. "Hannah Weiss?" she asked softly. "Yes." She slid into the seat opposite, lowering her bag to the floor. "My name is Sabine." I waited. "I know Clara," she said, her German accent precise, each word placed like a chess piece. "I know her. Very well. Too well. I've seen her patterns before, with others. I don't say this to hurt you, but you need to be aware." My throat tightened. "Patterns?" "She likes to test boundaries," Sabine said, "especially with married men. She creates situations that look innocent enough from the outside but feel dangerously intimate on the inside. Always in shadows, never in daylight. She thrives on secrets." I thought of the living room, the way Clara leaned toward Marcus, his hand hovering close. My stomach knotted. "She planned to send you a message this morning," Sabine continued. "Something to make you doubt Marcus further. Something edited." She pulled a phone from her bag, unlocked it, and turned the screen toward me. A video played. Clara and Marcus on the sofa, laughter spilling between them. She leaned in, whispering something, then placed her hand on his wrist. From that angle, it looked damning, very damning. But then the sound picked up. Clara's voice, sly, teasing. "Don't tell Hannah. It will ruin my surprise. She mustn't know we're planning this together." Marcus's reply was muffled, hesitant, but not affectionate, almost uncomfortable. Sabine paused the video. "She edits these clips, cuts the audio, crops the frame. She's done it before to others. Sends them to the spouse, watches their life unravel. She likes the power." My heart pounded, each beat heavy with disbelief. Why would she do this? To me? "You're her friend," Sabine said gently. "It makes the game sharper. She doesn't want Marcus. She wants to test how far she can control the story, how much chaos she can orchestrate." I set the glass of tea down, hands trembling. Betrayal had many shades, and this one cut differently. It wasn't Marcus's face that haunted me. It was Clara's. "What do you want me to do with this?" I asked. "Protect yourself," Sabine said. "Talk to Marcus. Ask direct questions. Don't let her frame the narrative. If you receive a message from her, know it's manipulated. Keep records. If she escalates, you may need to involve someone you trust in the community. But above all, don't give her what she wants, your silence or your blind rage." I breathed deeply, repeating in my heart, "Ya Allah, keep me firm, keep me clear." Sabine slid a USB stick across the table. "Everything I have on her, proof of her edits, timestamps, originals. Use it if you must, or destroy it. That's up to you." I stared at the small object, a tiny vessel of truth, or at least part of it. When I looked up, Sabine was already rising. "Be careful, Hannah. She's clever. And she's not finished yet." She left, the cafe door jingling softly, her figure swallowed by the grey morning. I sat there for a long time, the USB stick heavy in my pocket. Then, finally, I texted Marcus. "We need to talk. Public place. Noon. Cafe West End." His reply was instant. "Yes. Thank you. I'll be there." Cafe West End was brighter, bustling, less intimate than Linden. I chose a corner table near the window, so people moved around us like water, no shadows to hide in. Marcus arrived, looking exhausted, hair dishevelled, shirt wrinkled, eyes wide with guilt and fear. He sat, folded his hands, and spoke before I could. Hannah, please. It's not what you think. She leaned close. She touched my wrist. I froze. I didn't know how to react. I wanted to push her away, but I was afraid it would explode. I was a coward. I'm sorry. I held his gaze, searching for cracks. Why didn't you tell me before I walked in? Because it happened only minutes before you arrived, he said, voice trembling. And because I was ashamed. I thought if I ignored her, she would stop. I didn't expect you to come home early. But maybe Allah brought you then for a reason. I pressed my palms together. She's planning to send me edited videos. Someone showed me proof. Marcus's face blanched. Sabine? You know her? She warned me once, he said quietly. Years ago, when Clara tried to play the same trick with another man. I didn't believe her then. I thought Clara had changed. He rubbed his face, shame etching his features. I should have cut ties long ago. I failed you. I looked at him, really looked. He wasn't excusing. He wasn't deflecting. He was owning the cowardice of silence. And yet, trust wasn't a switch you flipped back on. I need time, I said simply. You'll have it, he whispered. That night, back in the guest house, a message buzzed on my phone. From Clara, a video. I stared at the notification without opening it, my heart a tight knot. My thumb hovered, then withdrew. Instead, I whispered aloud, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min hamazati shayateen wa a'udhu bika rabbi an yahdurun. O Allah, I seek refuge in you from the whispers of the devils, and I seek refuge in you, my Lord, lest they come near me. I set the phone face down on the desk, but deep inside, a single thought pushed against the edges of my resolve. If Clara wanted me to see this video so badly, what exactly was in it? The phone lay on the desk like a coiled snake. One tap, and whatever venom Clara had prepared would sink into me. I told myself to ignore it, to delete it without looking, but the human heart is not so disciplined. After praying Isha, I sat cross-legged on the bed, whispered Bismillah, and opened the video. It began exactly as Sabine had warned. Clara on the sofa, close to Marcus, her hand brushing his wrist. The audio had been muted, and without words, it looked like an embrace about to happen. Then, cut abruptly, Marcus's expression frozen in an angle that seemed guilty. A caption in Clara's handwriting flashed across the screen. He is not who you think he is. Ask yourself why he never tells you everything. The clip ended. 30 seconds, carefully designed to puncture a marriage. I sat still, breathing evenly. The temptation to storm back to Marcus, to demand explanations, was strong. But the words of Imam Daniel echoed in my head. We do not assume the worst without clear proof, and we do not dismiss harm out of fear of conflict. So I saved the video in a folder, untouched, labeled Evidence. Then I messaged Marcus. She sent me something, edited. I won't react until we talk again, but I need you to be completely honest from now on. No omissions. His reply came quickly. I promise. I'll tell you everything. Please don't let her come between us. The next morning, I decided to face Clara directly. Not with anger, but with clarity. I arranged to meet her in the same park where I had first sat with my suitcase, under the bare branches and the rust-coloured benches. She agreed almost too quickly, her text full of cheerful exclamation points, as if this were a friendly outing. When she arrived, her blonde hair loose, her coat fashionable and unbothered, she smiled like nothing had fractured. Hannah, you're back early. Why didn't you tell me? I met her gaze without smiling. I walked in yesterday. I saw you with Marcus. For the briefest flicker, her eyes hardened. Then the mask returned. Oh, that. It was nothing really. I was only leaning close, touching him, whispering secrets, I interrupted, and then sending me an edited video last night? Her lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. So you watched it? I did. I folded my arms. I also know about your patterns, Clara, about how you've done this before. The mask slipped. Sabine. Yes. Her jaw tightened, but she leaned back against the bench as if this were a casual conversation about the weather. You always were too righteous for your own good, Hannah. Too calm, too trusting. I only wanted to see what it would take to make you break. Her words chilled me more than the February air. Why? What did I ever do to you? You had what I didn't, she said simply. A husband who looks at you with respect. A faith that grounds you. People trust you. I wanted to see if I could steal that from you. Not Marcus, but the peace you carry. And now look, your heart is shaking. I felt my pulse in my throat, but I breathed deeply, whispering in my chest, Inna Allaha ma'a as-sabirin. Surely Allah is with the patient. Clara, I said steadily, you've hurt me, but I won't let you dictate my life. I won't answer to your games. I answer to Allah. Whatever you planned ends here. Her eyes narrowed. Do you really think Marcus told you everything? That line hit like a blade. She was clever. She knew doubt lingers even when faith is strong. But I refused to let her plant more poison. I stood. This conversation is over. If you send me another message, I will take it to the authorities. And I'll take it to the community, with the evidence I have. Her smirk faltered. Just a fraction. Enough. Without another word, I walked away. That evening, I met Marcus again, this time in the Imam's office. I wanted witnesses, light, guidance. He looked exhausted, but determined. I need you to tell me everything, I said. No half-truths. So he did. He admitted his silence, how Clara had made small advances before, little comments, glances he ignored. He thought ignoring meant refusing. He confessed he feared confrontation, feared being accused of exaggerating. He swore he never sought her company alone, but she always found ways to be near. When he finished, he lowered his head. I failed you, Hannah. I failed to protect our home. I never betrayed you in action, but my passivity was a betrayal in itself. If you can't forgive me, I will accept it. I looked at him, weighed the trembling sincerity against the raw wound inside me. Trust, once cracked, takes time to heal. But betrayal comes in degrees, and I had seen enough proof of Clara's manipulation to know Marcus was more foolish than unfaithful. I don't know if I forgive you yet, I said quietly, but I see your honesty. That is a start. Imam Daniel nodded, his voice calm. This is not the end of the road, only the beginning of a harder one. If you choose to rebuild, you must both commit to transparency, to counseling, and to protecting your home from outsiders. Allah loves those who mend what is broken, but not at the expense of truth. Marcus looked at me, tears in his eyes. I'll do whatever it takes. I nodded once. Then we begin with boundaries. Clara is no longer welcome in our lives. But just when I thought the storm had peaked, my phone buzzed with a new message. Not from Clara this time, from an unknown number. The text read, "You think it's over? It isn't. Tomorrow you'll see something that will change everything again." My hand froze on the screen. My heart whispered a prayer, because storms do not always end when you think they do. Sometimes they gather strength for one final strike. The message haunted me through the night. Tomorrow, you'll see something that will change everything again. I didn't know if it was Clara or someone else, but the weight of it pressed down like a storm cloud. At dawn, after Fajr, I sat quietly with my Quran, seeking steadiness. And whoever relies upon Allah, then he is sufficient for him. 65:3. I whispered those words until my heart slowed. By mid-morning, an email arrived. The subject line, "The Truth." Attached was a folder. I hesitated, then opened it. Inside were several files, recordings, messages, photos, proof. But not against Marcus, against Clara. In the videos, she boasted to another acquaintance about her little game with me. She laughed about editing footage, about how easy it was to twist reality. She bragged that she could ruin friendships with a single cut and caption. Her voice was sharp with cruelty, but the evidence was undeniable. I felt both relief and sorrow. Relief that Marcus's words had been true, sorrow that a friend I had trusted for years had let envy consume her so deeply. I forwarded the folder to Imam Daniel and deleted nothing. I wanted transparency, not secrets. Then I called Marcus. "We have proof," I said simply. "It's over." When we met that evening, he looked as though he hadn't slept. But when I showed him the files, his shoulders sagged with both anger and release. "We'll go to the authorities if she doesn't stop," he said firmly. No more silence. For the first time in days, I saw strength in him. Not passivity, not fear, but resolve. That night, in our own apartment, the locks changed and the account secured. We sat together in the quiet. The betrayal still hurt, but its edges were softening into lessons. We spoke openly, painfully, honestly, about boundaries, about mistakes, about rebuilding trust. And as I laid my head on the prayer rug before sleep, I whispered, "Alhamdulillah," not for the trial itself, but for the clarity it brought, for the reminder that dignity is never found in rage, and that Allah's protection arrives in ways we cannot predict. The storm had come, the storm had shaken, but the storm had also passed, and in its wake, I was still standing.